All right, so today we're here at Tablas Creek Winery in beautiful Paso Robles wine country. We're going to walk the vineyard with one of the owners, talk shop regarding their 30-year anniversary, and of course, we're going to taste some of the fabulous wines. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name's Jay Bond. I run the Bond Real Estate Group. I made it my mission to showcase all the eateries, bars, wineries, and everything else that Slow has to offer. Join me for the Slow Spotlight.
Jason, one of the partners and general manager here at Tablas Creek. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Hey, my pleasure.
I really appreciate the walk up, just serene, awesome, you know, and it's funny because he literally spoke about every single thing we wanted to capture on camera. So I was like, all right, why don't you try to do that one more time when we're sitting down? So I know you guys got a lot going on here, you know, just in the summary, just kind of walking up. But it's a big year, it's a 30-year anniversary, right, for you guys?
It is.
Kicking off this year, so congratulations on that. I know it's a big milestone here. And I know you kind of touched base on, we probably want to let everyone know out there, just the evolution of not just your guys' operation here, but I think the wine country in general here in Adelaida, as well as just, you know, Paso Robles.
Sure. So let me give you a little bit of backstory as to how we ended up here in 1989, because in 1989, this part of Paso was really the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
So Tablas Creek has always been a partnership. It's equally owned and run by two families. One of the families is my family. My dad was Robert Haas. He founded an importing company called Vineyard. He was a wine importer all the way back into the 1950s.
Oh, wow, okay.
The other family is the Perrin family, who own and run Chateau de Beaucastel in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, as well as a number of other properties and projects in the Rhone Valley, and whose wines my dad introduced into the U.S. market in the 1960s.
Wow.
So
okay.
they became friends just through working together as importer and producer. And by the mid-70s, they'd made enough trips to California together that they started talking about why was nobody growing in this Mediterranean climate the grapes that they were used to from the Mediterranean part of France. So my dad, in addition to working as an importer, also represented some of the first generation of Napa and Sonoma wineries to hit the national scene. So wineries like Ridge, and Kistler, and Phelps, and Chapelet, and Spring Mountain. And so whenever he had one of the Perrin brothers in San Francisco selling their French wines, he'd grab them for an afternoon. They'd drive up to Napa and they'd brainstorm.
Sure.
And they came away from these visits, first of all, convinced that California was a place where you could make world-class wines. Which is kind of a radical idea for a French winemaking family in that area. But equally convinced that there was an opportunity there in that, there was Cabernet and Chardonnay and Merlot and Pinot Noir, but those were Burgundy varietals or Bordeaux varietals.
Yes, yes.
In this Mediterranean climate, the grapes that they were used to from the south of France should really be a good fit. And yet they didn't see anybody planting Grenache or Syrah or Mourvedre or Roussanne or Marsanne or Viognier. So as early as the mid-70s, they talked about wanting someday to do a Rhone project themselves. Okay. But it took them a decade to get the money saved up and the help with their other businesses. But in 85, they put together the partnership and started looking. And 4 years later, bought this 120-acre property here in the hills west of Paso.
Great spread, too.
So you got to realize how early the kind of wine world was in Paso at that time.
Yes.
There were about 15 wineries in Paso. It was known, if it was known at all, it was known for making kind of rustic Zinfandels.
Sure.
There were a few people starting to experiment with some Cabernet and some Bordeaux varieties here, but that was really it.
Yeah.
And in fact, when we bought this property, we didn't know it, but we were outside the boundary of the Paso Robles AVA. The boundary was a couple miles east of here, and we bought the property because the soils were right, the climate was right, the rainfall was right, and we thought we were in Paso. Turns out we weren't. But we weren't the only ones. Like Justin Winery, which is a little bit to the north of us, was also outside the AVA boundary, and so they were the ones who pushed to get the boundary extended west to include us. But the idea was, if we if we found a spot with the right raw materials, we could start from scratch, bring in grapevine cuttings from Beaucastel, plant a vineyard from scratch, grow the vines, produce fruit, eventually build a winery. And it wouldn't really matter that there wasn't a community here yet, because I mean, all of California was still in the fairly early stages.
If you build it, they will come. Ultimately,
they will
is the
come.
philosophy.
Yeah. So we did have to start really from scratch, even more so than we thought we would, because we realized that several of the varieties we wanted to work with had never been used in the United States before.
Yes.
We had to import them through a USDA mandated 3-year quarantine program, and then build a grapevine nursery on site to propagate the 6 vines you're allowed to bring into the thousands you need to plant a vineyard.
Correct.
And ended up in another business of actually selling vine cuttings to other vineyards and wineries, because it turned out we weren't the only ones who were interested in these grapes.
Correct.
But we were the only ones who were crazy enough and had the right connections to actually go to the trouble of bringing the vines.
It's a good way to kind of spread it out, get some advocacy for it, and
Right.
Grassroots, if you will. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
And that was an early decision that my dad and the parents made that I think maybe doesn't get enough attention, was the decision not to try to keep these vines that they brought in proprietary, but instead to make them available to other members of the community who wanted to buy them.
Correct.
So it turns out over the last 25 years, we've sold almost 5 million grapevine cuttings to 600 plus vineyards up and down the West Coast.
Something else. Okay.
So it's crazy looking back at, in some ways, how primitive things were in a lot of ways, and how little we understood what the long-term impact was going to be of some of these decisions that at the beginning seemed like they'd make sense, but didn't seem like they were going to change the world.
Exactly. How they transition to what they've done. Absolutely. I know you mentioned a certain amount, very few Rhone varietals in California, and then how many are there now, per se, just off the cuff?
So we have brought in 14 at this point. And so when we started, we focused on 7 that we thought were going to be really central. So that was Mourvèdre, Grenache, Syrah, and Counoise on the red side, and then Roussanne, Grenache Blanc, and Picpoul Blanc on the white side. We decided that's only half of the ones that are allowed in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So we decided in 2003 that we should bring the rest of them in, because we had success with grapes like Grenache Blanc and Counoise that even in France nobody really talks about. So we decided to import the rest of them, and they've been coming out of quarantine little by little over the last 15 years. And we finally got the last one here on the property just last week. So we planted 250 buds, or grafted 250 buds of Muscardin, which there's like 20 acres of it in the entire world. So
that's crazy.
and now there's 20 and a half acres, because we got a half an acre of it here.
It's exciting. Yeah, very exciting. So really evolutionary, but it sounds like you guys are really pioneering, a lot of that element here in Paso Robles, wine country area. So
it's been super exciting to see that research that we did at the front end kind of validated by Paso becoming the epicenter of the Rhone movement in California.
Yes.
I mean, there's now 260 wineries in Paso,
and huge amount,
and 225 of them work with Rhone varieties. I mean, a lot of them work with other grapes too, but still, that's by far the biggest concentration of Rhones anywhere 100%. In the state. And I mean, we're sitting on a limestone wall. I mean, these are. This is one of the main reasons why we're here, is that these soils are rare in California.
Very rare.
They're found in a lot of the great wine regions in Europe. It's what's in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, but they're not in Napa. They're not in Sonoma. They're not in Mendocino. They're not in the Sierra foothills, but they're in this little crescent of land on the western part of the Central Coast.
Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, very unique. Very unique. Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate it. We've kind of touched base on a little bit of everything this property has to offer, but I think we'll make our way with it. so we are in one of the little private tasting rooms here at Tablas Creek with the amazing Evelyne. Thank you so much for having me. So she promised me, I would say loosely promised, a nice a nice tasting for us today. So what do we have out as far as what we're going to be sampling this afternoon?
Well, this afternoon we're going to sample 3 different wines. The first one is a white wine, and it's a Grenache Blanc.
Ah, Grenache, okay.
Grenache Blanc is one of those varieties from the Rhône region in France, southern Rhône. And you'll see, Jay, it has
thank you.
wonderful, bright acidity. Grenache Blanc is one of those varieties that we brought from France, the cuttings, and went through quarantine at UC Davis for a few years, and then we crafted on the American. Yes, wonderful. It goes well with an avocado salad, for example, or a salad niçoise, or any kind of rich seafood.
It's delicious, delicious. And it's been an interesting, Jason touched based on some of the quarantine process of getting these vines over to the vineyard. So very arduous process, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. We have all of them. And Grenache Blanc is probably one of the most popular.
Oh, it's delicious. Especially on a nice, bright, sunny day like today. That is for sure.
And it's a single varietal.
Is it really? Okay.
And the difference is that Rhône variety, or Rhône wine, usually speaking, are known for them bland. So I'm going to pour you rosé.
Oh, the rosé, okay.
Many people say, rosé is trendy these days, but in Provence it has been there forever. It goes well with a beautiful weather.
Yes.
You need some friends, always.
Oh, of course.
If possible, the ocean or any kind of water. But this is a blend, and it's typical of the Rhône. So it's a Grenache, Mourvèdre, and Counoise.
Okay.
Different rosés that we used to have in California many years ago. It's
color.
You'll see very light color, very beautiful salmon color.
Oh.
Yeah.
Salud.
Salut. À votre santé. What is wonderful about rosé is that it's incredibly easy to drink.
It is.
By the porch, on the pool, on a boat.
Sometimes too easy.
Sometimes too easy, yeah.
Delicious.
Easy to pair with food. I call it my comfort wine, burger.
So summertime, this is one of your staple go-to wines.
Well, summertime, and also, perfect wine for weddings, perfect wine for Thanksgiving too.
Yes, very true, very true.
Do you like it?
Delicious, delicious.
Great. Yes, very dry, I like it. The next one, our Esprit de Tablas 2016.
Okay.
This is the reason why we came here. We wanted to make that kind of wine. It's very much an inspiration of what our sister winery is doing in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, this little village in southern Rhône. Châteauneuf-du-Pape means Pope Newcastle, so literally the wine of the Pope. It's a blend. It's a blend because that's what they do over there. So it's a Mourvèdre, Syrah, Grenache, and Counoise. I don't like to call it GSM because first we have Counoise, and it doesn't start with the Grenache but with the Mourvèdre, which is our signature red grape. A one that has the ability to age beautifully. Tell me a little bit what you get in your nose. To me it sounds spicy, maybe?
A little spice, a little fruit.
Yes. Dark grapefruit.
Yes.
So wonderful wines that pair well with lamb or any kind of lighter meat, chicken, roast. I wouldn't have a steak with it, but something more
more balanced.
More mellow.
So lamb. Okay.
to see
Oh,
it linger
delicious. Yeah.
beautifully on your palate.
Great finish.
It's here, you don't have the heaviness of the wine,
That's really good.
good minerality.
Oh my goodness. So many great wines. So many great wines. Well, this has been an amazing experience here today. Just walking the vineyard, enjoying your company, and a little breakdown of just some of these amazing wines you guys are pouring here. So they definitely need to come by and see them. Do you want to tell everyone just where your guys' tasting room is at? Maybe physical address, anything online, social media wise for you?
So we are in the Adelaida district.
Yes.
On Adelaida Road. The number is 9339. We are open 7 days a week from 10 to 5. We welcome everybody, big group, family, people that want to celebrate their anniversary, people that don't know anything about wine, people that know a lot about wine, everybody that enjoy wine. Wine is a lifestyle.
Yes.
When you drink a glass of wine, you want to eat well, and if you have a nice meal and a glass of wine, you want to spend some time and linger and enjoy it. So
I love it. That is my favorite philosophy on the wine drinking process.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
appreciate you
Jay.
hosting us.
Thank you.